Welcome back to The Gamer. Today we're discussing video game art because, well, have you ever noticed errors in some of the game art of the industry's top titles? We have too. It's actually surprising how often this happens. From the earliest classics to the latest releases, we delve into some of the most unforgettable mistakes that somehow made it into the final production. If you haven't already, support the team. Click the like button and subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with the latest content. Stick around as we take a stroll down memory lane and look at 10 unforgettable video game box art mistakes. Spirit Camera, The Cursed Memoir. Okay, let's kick this shebang off with one for the Nintendo 3DS fans out there. Maybe you'll know, but this game is a spin-off of the Fatal Frame series, a well-loved spooky game where you have a camera and ghosts appear around you. It made for a bunch of scary moments in video games and earned a spot alongside such greats like Resident Evil and Silent Hill. The actual game cover has a part of a ghost and a spooky environment, but there's definitely no camera to be seen. Instead, there's a book. You heard that right, a book. It's supposed to be a reference to the game itself, where the main story revolves around a girl named Maya who's somehow trapped in a scary monster book or something. There are AR elements in the game, which is an interesting way to integrate the features of the 3DS, but still the book is accessed with the 3DS's camera called the Camera Obscura in-game, and that's still not referenced in the cover, but they went with a book. And while we cue the facepalm gifs, it should be confessed we sort of recognize this hubris. Someone clearly could not have cared less. Gal Gun Double Piece. Time to laugh. Take a look at this picture. E for everyone? Why? For suggestive content, of course. Said no one ever. This is one of those games. If someone sees this in your game library, they're immediately gonna have their judgy eyes all over you, and it may or may not be completely warranted. Let's be honest though, it'll be completely warranted. Judgments aside, the meat of Gal Gun Double Piece is something that could never be interpreted as family friendly. It's a rail shooter that involves you shooting questionably aged Japanese schoolgirls with your love gun. We promise you that sentence is completely factual. You will indeed shoot young girls with your love gun. So why, in all possible realms of existence, did the actual physical copies of this game, which exist solely for those who want to hold their bad decisions in their hands, have an E rating? Even more mind-boggling, why does it say it's rated E even when it's saying it's got suggestive content? You know, like the other suggestive content found in E-rated games? Let's rewind. Maybe not all E games passed the morality test, or someone was asleep on the job. Either way, this game somehow made it to the store shelves with an E rating. Hola! Did you hear about the latest addition to our family? The Richest Español is the perfect place for all you native Spanish speakers out there. Don't speak Spanish? No problem, come on over. This is the perfect place to practice. Amazing facts, interesting people, and funny pictures. Check out the Richest Español today. The Imagine series. Another title for you Nintendo 3DS fans. This one's for a game you probably never bought, but seriously guys, we need to talk about shovelware. Please don't buy it, and please don't let your parents or grandparents buy it and act like it's a nice thing. It's not. Being a part of the problem is never a nice thing, and until we stop being the problem, we're still gonna get games like the Imagine series. A giant pile of misogyny, the series suggests the woman's main role in society is to cook, clean, take care of things, and have babies. Oh, right, this video's about video game covers. It turns out this series was created by people so lazy they couldn't be bothered to remove the watermarks from the awful stock photo pictures they used to make the cover art. And there's way too many games in this series. Well, even one game is too many games, but there have been way too many mistakes in previous games for this to have been done on purpose. Maybe it's just a problem prone to the Nintendo 3DS given the whole shovelware thing, but we suspect there are more games which were lost in translation. Super Mario Galaxy. We're not doing our jobs if we're not making you laugh, and here we go with another one sure to make you smile. Let's talk about Super Mario Galaxy. If there's one thing the Mario series is known for, it's repeating the same pattern, and people still buy the game like it's the second coming. Every Mario game is made for the whole family to enjoy. You're jumping on enemies and collecting stars. It's pure video game fun. However, we know E doesn't always mean for everyone, and we know that Disney has had its run-ins with creative illustrators in the past. But back to Mario. When this game made its big debut on the Wii, everyone was psyched. Super Mario Galaxy was a return to the classic gameplay, but it had a spacey setting and a different princess. The cover, however, had everyone's inner middle school kid chuckling and snorting. Turns out the game's cover placed stars over certain letters in the game's name. That made it spell out, "You are Mr. Gay." It was obviously a really funny coincidence, but there was no way it wasn't gonna get lampooned by the internet. Bomber Shock. Sometimes there's no way to unsee something once you've seen it. This is one for all our BioShock fans out there. We hope you don't think those big daddies are soft after we tell you this one. In BioShock 2, you were in the shoes of one of BioShock 1's big scary monsters, the Big Daddies. It also took steps to more fully develop the world of Rapture and the complex, symbiotic relationship between Big Daddies and Little Sisters in the BioShock universe. But even though Take-Two was unhappy with the game selling less than 5 million copies across all platforms in 2 months, it was a great companion and successor to a game that injected story, philosophy, and didactic storytelling into a bloated genre with generic plots about shooting all the bad guys. The game's cover, however, was nothing short of a betrayal. Although it had the glowing, creepy eyes of the little sister, the massive drill of the Big Daddy, and the rust-covered logo almost out-fallouting Fallout, the Big Daddy's helmet looks too much like another, less serious video game character. Just look at the picture, folks. There's no way you're not seeing Bomberman from here on out whenever you look at this picture. Super Mario Bros. We'd probably looked at the original Super Mario Bros. Cartridge about 5 billion times by the time we turned 10. It's a conservative amount, so imagine our surprise when we looked at the cover for the 5 billionth and first time and we realized Mario is running into a wall. Not figuratively, not metaphorically, physically. And judging by the motion lines he's built up behind him, he's doing it with a ton of force. We would also like to make it known here that Mario knows he's gonna die as well. How do we know this, you ask? Well, he's doing what we did when we realized we'd screwed up in a Mario game. Hit all the buttons. That's why he shot a fireball into the wall in the desperate hope somehow that'll save him. It will not. He'll fall into the lava and have to run the level all over again, which, since we're thinking about it, is an accurate depiction of the game playing experience. If anything, at some point you'll run into a wall, panic press all the buttons on your controller just before you meet certain death, and then you'll die. Fitting. FIFA 08. Sports games have a history of being almost as bad at Photoshop as some magazines. Although Cosmopolitan and Vanity Fair may have them beat on race exclusivity and body dysmorphia, sports games have a tendency to turn the people on their covers into supermen, normal human locomotion be forgotten, or normal human anatomy be forgotten. The body dysmorphia occurs to both sexes here, people. But with FIFA 08, not only do we have 3 of the most ridiculous celebratory faces, which without context seem like the most hilarious faces we've ever seen, but what in the heck did they do to Ronaldinho's arm? He's the guy in the middle for all you footy fanatics. His arm looks like it's some bizarre folded over chicken wing. Also, his fist is the same size as his entire shoulder muscle. There's so many things wrong here, you have to wonder why this picture was the best one out of the millions of pictures they took. It's not like EA didn't have the money to make a decent cover. Maybe they didn't care or didn't have the time, because who really looked at the covers anyways? Not us, no, not the ones who just spent $60 on the game. GoldenEye 007. Listen, we know, any criticism of GoldenEye is borderline blasphemous at best, but we've spoken about how awesome of a game GoldenEye is time and time again. It was a magical game that made us all believe we were a tiny Asian man chopping Pierce Brosnan or whatever you guys did with it. Whatever, what we did doesn't matter, it's the memories that do, and one of the things most people don't remember is the black and white used in the game's cover art. It ends up giving those who look at it too long a pretty entertaining optical illusion. Let us know in the comment section if you already knew this one. See, it turns out when you put a black and white hand next to a black and white mouth, the finger separation and shade from the gun the hand happens to be holding ends up creating a really long, stern expression. Maybe they should have switched the color palette up, but even then, the damage has been done. In this case, what's been seen can never truly be unseen. And for this iconic title, the game developers gave Pierce Brosnan, aka 007, aka Bond James Bond, a frog face. It's hard to take him seriously after this gaffe. Mega Man. This one's hard. We can't just figure out how to approach this. If you thought you were going to get a nice little intro to segue into the meat of this title, you were wrong. Honestly, there's not much we can really say. You'll just have to look at this photo to see what we're talking about here. Because with just one look, even if you've never played a single video game, let alone if you're familiar with the artwork of Keiji Inafune, you know something is wrong. Just from the cut rate art school standpoint, what the heck? Are his shoulders and collarbones C-shaped? Where are his forearms? How is the hand holding the gun even physically possible? Why is he holding a gun? This is the North American cover. The Japanese cover looks like this. It's actually decent. It just seems like when it got to Capcom of America, they thought the cartoony art style wouldn't fly, even though anime and Japanese art weren't unpopular to North American audiences. So we got this incredibly dated, realistic fantasy sci-fi stuff that's only good to laugh at. But if you have it, it's also good enough to hang on your wall because let's face it, we're guessing some of you are out there. Eric and the Floaters. And last but not least, we present to you the pinnacle of our list, the top achievement in all things poor video game artwork. Before we get started, a little history. This game was essentially just Bomberman with a different name and was released in Europe in 1983. From a design standpoint, the cover makes it look like the full title of the game is Kuma MSX Eric and the Floaters. But Kuma is actually just the name of the publisher, and MSX is the gaming system. And that's where things start to get weird. We're not sure if you can technically call this cover a mistake, but it's something. For some reason, Kuma's font seems to be very similar to another famous fantasy game, Loom, which was released by LucasArts back in 1990. But then look at the character on the cover. Presumably Eric, he bears a striking resemblance to a certain whip-wielding hero of the big screen. That's right, Indy. That's not weird, we hear you saying. Indiana Jones was released before Eric and the Floaters. And we can admit that, sure, but look in his hand. That's not simply a potato. It looks almost exactly like a Sankara stone from the movie The Temple of Doom released in 1984. Speaking of Doom, here's the absolute weirdest thing about this cover. It's eerily similar to the iconic Doom box art, and Doom didn't come out until 1993, a full decade after Eric and the Floaters. So somehow Eric and the Floaters either deeply inspired or somehow predicted the Temple of Doom, Loom, and Doom. And that's it for us on this video. What did you think? Did we miss any glaringly bad video game art? Let us know in the comments section below. If you haven't subscribed already, be sure to do so. While you're at it, take a look at our awesome playlist. We'll see you next time, and thanks for watching.